Have you ever wondered why some oversized suitcases somehow make it through security, while your smaller bag gets forced into check-in? Why are power banks both permitted and, at the same time, at risk of being banned? Or why something as ordinary as knitting needles, a jar of powdered milk, or even cremated ashes could stop you at the airport gate? And what about that power bank fire on a Korean flight this January? Was it really mid-air or still on the ground? Today, we'll break down the 2025 airline rules. What's truly about safety, what's just about money, and most importantly, how you can prepare so you don't end up in a nightmare at security. Picture this. You're boarding a long-haul flight, your phone battery is down to 15%, and you're relieved you brought a big power bank. But at the security checkpoint, an agent pulls it out, checks the label, and tells you it's not allowed on board. This isn't just a nightmare scenario. Since early 2025, travelers around the world have been caught in this exact situation, especially after a high-profile incident in South Korea. On January 28, 2025, during an Air Busan flight at Gimhae International Airport, a power bank caught fire while the plane was still on the ground. All passengers had to evacuate immediately. The lesson? Even legally permitted batteries can pose a real hazard, and airlines are tightening restrictions more than ever. Here's the rule. Power banks are never allowed in checked baggage, only in your carry-on. The maximum capacity is 100 W-watt, about 20,000 mAh. Between 100 and 160 W-watt, you can bring up to 2 spares, but most airlines require approval. Anything larger is banned outright. Several frequent flyers recommend checking the printed watt-hour rating before heading to the airport. Some have been stopped simply because security couldn't verify the capacity. A few even suggest carrying your batteries in a fireproof or silicone zip bag, both to reduce oxygen exposure and to reassure security staff. Smart luggage is another issue many passengers forget. If your suitcase has a built-in battery, it must be removable. Travelers have had to abandon expensive smart bags at the check-in counter because the battery was permanently attached. And it doesn't stop there. One person reported having their digital luggage scale confiscated in Dubai because it had a built-in tape measure, which security argued could be used as a choking device. Extreme? Maybe, but it shows how any device with a battery, cord, or moving part can raise suspicion. So, what's the safest approach? Charge your devices below 80% before boarding and avoid constant charging during the flight. Drone enthusiasts have learned that spare drone batteries often need to be fully discharged before flying. Others recommend grouping all your small electronics and spare batteries into a single clear case. When security can see everything at once, you're far less likely to get pulled aside for extra screening. The golden rule remains simple. Batteries stay in the cabin, never in the hold. If a fire breaks out in the cargo bay, no one can stop it. In the cabin, at least crew members have extinguishers and can respond quickly. Following the rules isn't just about avoiding a fine, it's about protecting yourself and everyone else on board. For almost 2 decades, the 311 liquids rule has been the one thing every traveler dreads at security. Small bottles under 100 ml packed into a clear plastic bag, that's the rule, and in 2025 it hasn't gone away. Many people heard rumors that Europe was dropping the restriction thanks to advanced scanners. In reality, those scanners failed safety trials, so every EU airport is still enforcing the 100 ml limit. In the UK, the story is even more confusing. Some airports briefly relaxed the rule, then reintroduced it in 2024 due to security concerns. That means a traveler flying through London City or Aberdeen might face stricter limits than expected. The takeaway? Unless you want to drink your expensive skincare at the checkpoint, assume the 100 ml rule still applies everywhere. But liquids aren't the only surprise. Powders have become a growing target for inspections. In the US, any container over 12 ounces, about 350 ml, will almost certainly be pulled aside. Commenters shared stories of protein powder, lactose-free milk powder, even packets of exotic salts being confiscated. One traveler had their bag torn apart for carrying black salt, Another lost a jar of Vegemite because it counted as a gel. These situations may sound absurd, but they highlight how rigidly security interprets potential threats. Powders can disguise explosives, and staff don't have the time or equipment to make exceptions. A practical workaround is to split powders into smaller containers under the threshold and clearly label everything. Even everyday tools fall into this gray zone. Scissors are only permitted if the blade is shorter than 4 inches, but passengers report losing pairs that were just a few millimeters over the limit. Rolls of tape, knitting needles, and even sealed tissues have triggered secondary screenings. One traveler was pulled aside because the X-ray machine flagged a pack of Kleenex in their pocket. These aren't rare anecdotes. They're reminders that what you consider harmless may still look suspicious on a scanner. The best way to avoid trouble is to keep things simple. Many frequent travelers advise buying toiletries at your destination as long as you're sure there's a store nearby. Others swear by TSA-approved clear toiletry bags to speed up the process. And remember, even within the same city, different terminals can apply rules differently. A Manchester passenger pointed out that one terminal had advanced scanners and looser rules, while another still enforced 311. That kind of inconsistency is why preparation matters more than rumors. Liquids and powders will likely remain one of the most frustrating parts of air travel. But with smart packing, small containers, clear bags, and a willingness to buy items at your destination, you can turn a potentially stressful experience into just another step toward your journey. Not long ago, travelers could confidently expect to bring a cabin-sized suitcase on board for free. But in 2025, that assumption is no longer safe. Low-cost airlines like Ryanair, EasyJet, and Wizz Air have all tightened their carry-on policies, reducing the size of the free allowance. In fact, as of January 1, 2025, the international standard for carry-on bags has been set at 22 x 14 x 9 inches, 56 x 36 x 22 centimeters. It may sound reasonable, but travelers have shared stories of being forced to leave behind or pay extra for luggage just a couple of centimeters larger. One commenter said they had to buy a new bag at the airport after their old one failed the new size check by 2 centimeters. The message is clear. Size rules are stricter than ever, and being even slightly over can cost you. Air Canada has gone even further with its basic economy tickets. Starting this year, passengers can only bring one small personal item for free: a backpack, purse, or laptop bag. Any cabin-sized suitcase now comes with a fee, starting at $35 for the first and up to $65 for additional pieces. Even seat selection has been stripped away. Unless you pay extra, you'll be assigned a seat at random. Many commenters were furious, vowing never to fly Air Canada again. Others defended the move, pointing out how overloaded cabin bins had become, with people bringing multiple oversized bags. Regardless of where you stand, the result is the same. You'll pay more unless you adapt. Frequent flyers have offered several tips to cope. Always double-check the baggage rules for your specific airline and route. Policies can vary not only between airlines, but also between destinations. Don't assume last year's ticket rules still apply. Consider flexible luggage like soft-sided suitcases or compressible backpacks that can be squeezed into measuring frames. One practical suggestion from the comments was to use the baggage sizers at the airport entrance before reaching check-in, so you're not caught off guard at the gate. Budget planning is just as important as packing. That cheap-looking $80 ticket might end up costing more than a $150 one once baggage and seat fees are added. Travelers in groups often pool resources by sharing one large checked bag instead of everyone paying for carry-on fees. Others prefer to travel ultralight, skipping extra luggage altogether and buying clothes or essentials at their destination. The bottom line is that baggage rules have shifted from a convenience to a major profit driver for airlines. To avoid frustration, travelers need to see baggage not as a free perk, but as part of the ticket price. Plan your packing carefully, measure your bag, and budget realistically. That way, you won't find yourself spending hundreds of dollars over something as small as 2 centimeters. Most travelers expect knives, guns, and explosives to be banned on flights. What surprises people are the everyday items that can cause unexpected trouble. One flyer shared how their roll of heavy-duty tape was confiscated. Security claimed it could be used to tie someone up. Another lost a beloved jar of Vegemite because it was treated as a gel. A woman traveling through Quito had her knitting needles taken away, even though she had flown through Miami with the same needles just days earlier. These inconsistent rules leave many passengers frustrated and sometimes even amused. Some cases border on the absurd. In Dubai, a traveler reported losing their digital luggage scale because it had a built-in tape measure, considered a potential choking hazard. Others said packets of black salt or lactose-free milk powder were seized, labeled as corrosive or suspicious. One elderly passenger noted that sometimes their walking cane was allowed on board, while other times they were forced to check it. Another traveler recounted being asked to remove an artificial hip, as though it were something detachable. These anecdotes underline an uncomfortable truth. Much depends on the airport, the country, and even the individual officer's judgment. Sports equipment often falls into this gray area as well. Baseball bats, golf clubs, hockey sticks, and even tennis rackets are usually required to be checked. This has led some to question why sturdy walking canes are permitted while sporting gear is not, especially when a cane could theoretically be used as a weapon. Some passengers openly admitted they carry solid wooden canes for both balance and self-defense, knowing that airlines can't forbid them if medically justified. Electronics and gadgets can also draw unwanted attention. Drone batteries, for example, often need to be discharged before boarding. A passenger once lost a small blender because its blades were deemed unsafe. Others reported having their bags emptied over harmless items like sealed tissue packets. These stories sound ridiculous until you realize they're real experiences shared by travelers worldwide. So how can you avoid becoming the next cautionary tale? Experienced passengers recommend doing two things. First, always check the banned items list for the specific airport you're flying through. Rules vary, and assumptions are dangerous. Second, organize questionable items in clear plastic cases or transparent pouches so staff can see them without tearing apart your bag. And finally, think twice before packing anything sentimental or valuable that might risk confiscation. Once an item is taken, it's almost impossible to get back. Strange as they may sound, these examples remind us that when it comes to airport security, consistency is rare. Flexibility, preparation, and a little bit of humility can go a long way toward keeping your journey stress-free. When travelers talk about airport security, the real debate isn't just what you can or cannot bring. It's why these rules exist in the first place. Are they truly about protecting passengers? Or are they partly about squeezing more money out of travelers? The comments show a sharp divide. Some believe the rules are necessary, citing real risks like lithium batteries catching fire, flour dust explosions, or mercury corroding aluminum aircraft parts. Others argue it's little more than security theater, a show of safety designed to justify higher fees and stricter control. Frustration grows when passengers notice inconsistencies. You might have to throw away a $1 bottle of water at security, only to buy the exact same thing for $4 inside the terminal. Several commenters noted the irony of being forced to discard items, like scissors, nail clippers, or tape, only to find similar products for sale in duty-free shops just steps away. One traveler even described nearly choking on food during a flight, only to discover that cabin crew refused to provide water without payment. For them, it felt like profit outweighed basic passenger safety. The anger is particularly strong when it comes to baggage and seat fees. Air Canada's decision to charge for cabin luggage and randomize seating for basic economy sparked outrage, with some vowing never to fly the airline again. Yet others defended the move, saying it discourages passengers from bringing oversized bags and makes boarding smoother. The debate shows how the same policy can feel either practical or predatory, depending on personal experience. The truth is that both sides have valid points. Nobody wants to see another in-flight fire or security scare caused by a banned item. At the same time, no one enjoys paying $50 just because their suitcase is slightly larger than the measuring frame. The smartest way forward is to recognize what you can control and plan accordingly. Treat safety rules as non-negotiable, but view fees as part of the travel budget. Seasoned travelers often recommend choosing airlines based on your personal habits. If you prefer traveling light with just a backpack, low-cost carriers may suit you just fine. But if you need space for multiple bags, a traditional airline with higher upfront prices may actually save you money in the long run. Others cut costs by sharing checked luggage as a group, buying toiletries at their destination, or accepting the middle seat rather than paying for upgrades. Flying in 2025 is certainly not as glamorous as it once was, but it doesn't have to be miserable either. With preparation, realistic expectations, and a willingness to adapt, you can navigate the mix of safety rules and money grabs without letting them ruin your trip. Think of it less as a battle against airlines and more as a test of how well you can outplan the system. At the end of the day, air travel in 2025 isn't about memorizing endless lists of banned items. It's about understanding the logic behind the rules, preparing smartly, and avoiding unnecessary costs. Some restrictions genuinely keep us safe, others feel like profit strategies, but both are part of the reality we face at airports around the world. If you know the size limits, pack your liquids and powders wisely, keep your batteries in check, and stay flexible with what you bring, you'll save yourself stress, money, and time. Travel is supposed to be about the journey, not the frustration at the checkpoint. Stay informed, plan ahead, and you'll walk through security with confidence instead of confusion.